Hello, welcome everybody. I've never gone live before on Facebook, so this is very exciting. Happy Friday, happy first Friday. So it's the first Friday of the month, and I thought I'd start like a new thing where I offer you some free fiction on the first Friday of the month. So it's the first Friday free Fairbanks fiction. High five. I think what you're meant to do with a live video is just to ramble for a bit because it takes a while for people to notice that you've gone live. So I'm going to do some vamping, some improv, and just basically talk and talk and talk until enough people are here, and then I'm going to read a very exciting story for you. So I hope you've had a good week. I hope you've had a good 2023. January just happened. That's done. We're now into February. It was 10 degrees today. Exciting. Little whiff of spring in the air. I went for my first run of the year, so that was wonderful because I've not been running over winter. I tend to like hibernate. And running's so good for the writing process. It really helps you like break through difficulties in the narrative. So it's good to have my first run of the year done. The story I'm going to share with you is actually called The New Year Corpse. So we're a little bit late probably for a New Year themed story, but I don't know, it's not quite Valentine's Day yet, it's not quite spring. Maybe we can still drag out that New Year theme for a bit longer. And actually, if you're part of my book club and you get my fortnightly book club newsletter, you would have received this story last Friday, so a week ago. So you probably read it in written form, and now you're going to hear me perform it. So you get the audio version for all those Audible fans amongst you. And if you want to get free stories from me and you're not already subscribing to my newsletter, please do subscribe. simonfairbanks.com/book club. So all you have to do is pop in your email address and you'll start getting my fortnightly newsletters. And best of all, you get an entire free fantasy novella just for subscribing to that newsletter. And it's called Little Girl Lost. It's set within my Nephos fantasy world, and you'll meet Sheriff Denabola, you'll meet Redshift, the warrior fairy, and you'll meet Denabola's very trusty skyhorse Palladium. So a really nice novella to sort of introduce yourself to that world with some good twists, lots of heart, lots of humour. I think you'll like it. And yeah, from then on, you'll get my fortnightly newsletters. You'll get writing advice from me, book recommendations, my distractions of the week, whatever they might be, my photo of the week, and we'll also do a nice little discussion too. So maybe this is enough vamping for now. So without further ado, I'm going to read to you The New Year Corpse. So this is a story that I wrote a very long time ago, actually. It's a trademark Simon Fairbanks story, which means it's fantastical, a little bit strange, there's a nice twist. So I hope you enjoy me reading it to you. So here we go. Detective Dusty Smithers was having an unhappy New Year. He longed for a day with his family, especially after their miserable Christmas. But his sergeant sent him to investigate a murder instead. Dusty was soon dragged away from his family and hurtled across the snowy streets of London in a horse-drawn carriage. His wife was cross, and his boys were disappointed. Families and detective work rarely make good companions. The body had been found by two street bobbies after the neighbours reported a funny smell coming from the mansion next door. The mansion was under renovation and had been empty for weeks. The residents had relocated to the country to avoid the work, and the workers themselves had clocked off for the holidays. So nobody had discovered the body until now. This meant the corpse was nice and rotten by the time Dusty arrived. The bobbies soon resumed their beat, and the whole mysterious caper was left in Dusty's hands. Until much later. Knock, knock, a voice said, causing Dusty to jump. A second detective marched through the door and flashed his papers at Dusty before promptly stuffing them back into his black trench coat. Who? Detective Virgil. Pleased to meet you, Detective. Virgil gave Dusty a brisk handshake, but his eyes never left the corpse. I was sent to help. What do we have here? Virgil walked and talked with authority, and Dusty found himself answering quickly. A mystery is what we have here. The cadaver is an elderly man. No identification documents. Apparently clubbed to death with the blunt instrument. Yet, The Bobbies had to bust their way into this room. The door was locked from the inside. There is no other way in or out of this room. Even the windows are boarded up. So where are the murderers? Virgil nodded curtly. Where can wait, but who and why? You said murderers plural? You assume there was more than one? Dusty explained. Look, this room is empty apart from these 2 crates. I reckon 2 street urchins have been living here, squatting. Not that I blame them. A big empty house is much warmer than the streets. The victim must have discovered the squatters, so they killed him to ensure his silence. But where are the squatters now? Very good, Virgil smiled. However, there are bigger mysteries here. You said the room is empty, apart from the 2 crates. But what about that? Virgil pointed at the brown sack next to the corpse. Presumably this belongs to the cadaver. Why would 2 squatters murder a man, but neglect to steal his belongings? Have you opened the sack? Not yet, Dusty replied. Not strictly a lie. Truth be told, that sack gave Dusty the creeps. He had approached it earlier, and was struck by a queer sense of vertigo, as if he was looking down from a great height. Virgil strode over to the sack, and for a second Dusty saw a glimmer of fear and sweat on Virgil's face. But the man steeled himself and drew it open for a peek inside. There was no noise exactly, but a change in the atmosphere occurred. It reminded Dusty of a recent train trip he had taken, where all was quiet until someone opened a window and a surge of air came rushing into the carriage. Virgil's eyes grew wide as he gazed into the victim's sack, and he teetered forward. At the last second, Virgil managed to grasp it shut and step away, breathing heavily. "Detective?" Dusty asked. "Well, you are right," Virgil said. "There were 2 murderers, and they certainly look like squatters. I dare say they won't be troubling anyone else. They have had quite a fall." "A fall?" Dusty repeated, glancing at the strange sack. At that, Virgil took a police whistle out of his pocket and gave it a long blow. No sound came out, but a group of bobbies appeared on the fly. Their jackets and hats were all jet black. Dusty suspected these were no real police, just as Virgil was no real detective. "Where did you say you were from?" Dusty asked. "I didn't," Virgil replied, whilst the not-quite policeman roped off the sack. "Wait, that sack is evidence. Do you mean to take it?" Dusty asked. "Take it? My goodness, no," Virgil said. "There is only one man who could lift that sack, and he is lying in the middle of the floor. We'll just guard it for a while." "Only one man? You mean the victim?" Virgil stared at the corpse. "Who is he?" Virgil regarded Dusty carefully. "You tell me. You're the detective." "I know how it feels. Often the senses can be clouded when experiencing the remarkable. I've seen it happen before. Here, look at the jacket on the corpse. Look at the boot prints on the floor. And listen to the noise on the roof." Dusty looked. The jacket was red. The boot prints led from the fireplace. And such noise! How did Dusty not hear that banging until now? "What is that?" "Sleigh bells," Virgil replied. "Not to mention some very hungry animals. They've been up there for over a week." Dusty's brain creaked. The remarkable was weighing down on his sanity like an elephant on wooden floorboards. The corpse, is he... "Go home, Dusty," Virgil interrupted. Dusty would later realize that he never told Virgil his name. "Be with your family. It's New Year's Day, and something tells me your children didn't get any Christmas presents this year. Here." Virgil, a grim look on his face, reached inside the sack. Dusty took a step back. He heard an awful sound, a sort of stretching, whilst Virgil gritted his teeth in agony. When he pulled his arm out, Virgil was holding a huge bag full of neatly packaged gifts. "Better late than never." Virgil gave Dusty the bag and steered him towards the door. "Happy New Year, Detective. And it will be a new year." Virgil glanced back at the corpse. A lot has changed. Detective Dusty Smithers made a resolution right there and then. He would stop asking questions and go home to his family. He had an armful of gifts, and it was time for some overdue festivities. This would be the last Christmas, after all. Well, I hope you enjoyed your first Friday free Fairbanks fiction. That's the New Year Corpse, as I mentioned, which appears in my wonderful Breadcrumbs collection of short stories. This is the first of my short story collections that I published way back when in 2014. There are two more since then. We have Breadcrumbs, we have Boomsticks, and we have Bell Jars. And each of them contains a novella set within my Nephos fantasy world, which consists of two novels already, and a third one that's very, very, very close to being done. It's been an absolute pleasure to trial this with you. It's very possible nobody's watching, but this video will save so you can watch it days, months, years later and enjoy me reading this story. So I'm going to try and work out how to end this for now, but thank you very much, and I hope you have a great weekend, a great month, and if this recording works well when I watch it back, I'll do this next month too, on the first Friday. So, bye bye bye.